probably none better than some of the greatest hydroplanes that have ever been flying around this race course. And of course, the man who has seen them all is our Pat O'Day. Patrick, you've got some memories of some of these great boats.
Well, as we celebrate 60 years today, some have asked, what were the greatest boats of all time or the greatest drivers? So we decided to take it by decade. Going back to the beginning, we must salute that great innovation with sponsons that started it all. Designed by Ted Jones of Seattle, the slow motions. They set the world speed record. They went to Detroit and won the right to run the next race in Seattle. And that's how it all began. Seattle's second most famous boat, well, the Miss Thriftways. Greatest drivers of that era, well, we salute Bill Munsey and a guy who's here today, Myra Slovak in the Wahoo. He's the guy that flew an airliner full of passengers out from under the Iron Curtain to freedom and later drove the Miss Wahoo and then the Tahoe Miss to national championships. And then the 60s arrived and those Ballard Bullets, the Bardolls, Miss Bardol, and second place that year to the Hawaii Kai. Great drivers of that decade, the late Ronnie Musset in the Bardolls and Jack Regis in the Hawaii Kais. The 1970s arrive. Big changes in the sport. The decade of the turbine engine and pickle fork noses on the hydroplanes. Bill Munsey reestablishes himself as the #1 driver of the decade while driving his blue and white Atlas van lines. Second place, well, that's an easy call. The boat was Dave Herensberger's Pride of Pan Packs, and the driver of the decade, second place goes to Eatonville's George Henley. What a show they used to put on. And then came the 1980s. A young man is on the horizon. His skills seemed to surpass any he had seen in years. Bill Munsey noted those skills, and after Bill's accidental death in a race at Acapulco, Fran Munsey knew well who should drive Bill's equipment. Fran's boat, the Atlas Van Lines, and later the Miller Americans, were the best of the 80s, as was their driver, a young man by the name of Chip Hanauer. We give him our thumbs up, as with his 60 career victories, he was the greatest driver of the 80s. Second place? Well, that goes to Bernie Little's Budweiser's, and one of his great drivers of all time, the late Dean Chenoweth. The 1990s arrive. Everything is now turbine-powered. Chip remains the king of drivers, followed by a new name on the scene, Port Orchard and Auburn's Dave Villwock, who becomes national driving champion in Fred Leland's Pico American Dream. Best boats of the 90s, Bernie Little's Budweiser's and Steve Woomer's Winston Eagles. There it flies down the course on Lake Washington. And then a new century. And so far, in its first decade, the greatest boats are the Elstrom's Elams, as again boats from Ballard reign supreme. Second place? Well, now there's Dave Villwock. Yes, he's the best driver of this decade. And second place, we select the Miss Madison Oh Boy Oberto. The decade of Villwock and Elam and Steve David and the Oh Boy Oberto. And so there you have it. Now, you may disagree with me, but as Tommy Lasorda once said when they threw him out of a Dodger game for arguing balls and strikes, I calls them as I sees them. Thank you.
Pat O'Day, he sees them all. Pat, we appreciate it. When we come back here along the shores of Lake Washington, we remember friends who have helped make all of these seafairs over the years so memorable for all of us. We'll be back. We have had the opportunity over the years here along the shores of Lake Washington to show you some of the greatest boat racers and meet some of the most wonderful people that we have had an opportunity to do over the years. Right at this moment, we want to take a couple of minutes to acknowledge some of those folks who've passed on in the last year. They meant a great deal to us as friends, as family members, and as co-workers, and also in this community that we know as great drivers and great members of this boating community. And Chip, you knew these folks, and we've got Mike and Pat are joining us as well from the start-finish line. So I'll start with you, Michael. You're the one who kind of knows all these people from way back. Why don't you get us started on some of the folks we want to remember who've passed on?
Well, we lost a great driving champion and a great Gold Cup champion, Terry Troxell, this year. Terry Troxell, as they called him, was he was an intrepid driver, a great boat racer in the small classes as well as the unlimited classes. He was just a great spokesman for the sport, a leave no quarter kind of a driver, the kind of driver that just made our sport. It was a sad thing to have to lose him. He had had a heart attack earlier and came even back to driving after a stroke, and then we lost him just a few months back. So we salute Terry Troxell, and his memory will always be with us on Seafair.
And then there are those guys that died at the wheel to keep this sport alive. There was Bill Munsey and Dean Chenoweth. I think of Jerry Bangs, who died on a Sunday just like this, giving their most and to keep this sport. And they, in a sense, are present here today. They're present and accounted for as the sport grows. Much safer now, but there were times when it was so hazardous, and they came out and gave it their all.
And also this year we lost Bob Schroeder, who folks will remember back in the 50s and 60s was a great driver. Also, the Wild Root Charlie comes to mind as one of the boats that he drove, and the great Bill O'Mara, who called so many of the races in the 1950s, passed away just a few months ago up in Anacortes. And as you know, Pat, Bill was calling football into his 9th decade.
I'd stop in Anacortes and see him. He was 90 years old, still doing play-by-play football and having the time of his life.
I want to bring Chip in here, if I can, to talk a little bit about Terry Troxell. You knew Terry. These are tough things, and these are good friends.
I always felt guilty about Terry because I think he enjoyed it way more than I did, and I was lucky enough to have maybe a bit more success than Terry did. But nobody enjoyed getting into a boat and driving it more than Terry Troxell, whether he won or he lost. And he won a lot, and he drove really aggressively. I think we had a name for him. It escapes me what it was. But he just loved to drive a boat.
Troxilla.
There you go.
You know, Chip, may I add something? My daughter was about 12 years old when, walking through the pits, Terry grabbed her and put her in the cockpit of his boat. And then each year he would grab her, and he finally made her a crew person on the U-13. And that's the way he was with all of the kids around the pits. And he's loved by every one of the pits. There's little boats with his name on it down there. And Terry, we'll miss you.
And finally, a thought about a gentleman who joined Chip and I up here in the pits on this tower for so many years. Derek Loso, our good friend with KIRO 7, passed away this year. We miss him. We will always think of him on Seafair Sunday. We want to go down to the pits right along the shores here of Lake Washington. And our Jenny Hogan is standing by in the Greg Hopp pits. Jenny.
Yeah, with MirageBoats.com team manager Jim Harvey. And Jim, this is an interesting situation here because you used to be real rivals with Fred Leland, the owner of this team, and now you two are banding together.
That's kind of interesting. In the springtime, Fred came back from a trip from Texas for 5 months, and I was up at his shop and we started talking, and you know, he didn't have anybody. There wasn't really anybody that was there to help him do what needed to be done to get his program ready. And I sold my team almost 2.5 years ago, and I guess I missed it. So we talked about it and came back, and you know, Fred has offered and given to so many people in the sport over the years, and without a major sponsor, his equipment needed some attention. And we just came up with, you know, the new color scheme, and you know, go through the motors and just new uniforms and just dress the program up and bring it back to the respect that Fred deserves.
Now, for viewers that have just joined us and don't know much about the past year, Fred is battling cancer right now, so that's why you're stepping in.
Well, he needs some help, and he can't do it all, and he's winning that battle, I believe. And he's not private about it. He's very open about it, and he's a strong person. If any one of us that I know that had what he has, I don't know if I'd have the fortitude, but I guess if you're in that position, you don't give up. Life is, what's the alternative?
And this is a very positive camp here. We've been talking about the future.
There is a future. We're going to make a future out of it. And I kind of joke that, we've got two wrongs. Fred and I are going to make a right. And the other saying is, Rome might have been built in a day, but we're doing it in 2 days. So that means there's more than 1 year. And there's a lot of ideas, a lot of things that I want to do, and a lot of ideas that Fred wants to do as far as innovative things with automotive power. Maybe next year we'll have 2 boats.
Well, I know you can't see Steve Rabel right now, but I can guarantee you he's probably smiling hearing that the whole crew will be around another year. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Back to you, Steve.
That's a lot of history right there in boat racing between those two gentlemen. Fred Leland, good luck to you. Get well soon, my friend. Pat O'Day has been our historian here for the many years he's been with us on these broadcasts. He has seen more and forgotten more than most of us have ever learned about hydroplane racing. But even Pat learns something, and every so often he likes to show people the history of hydroplane racing. Like the time he went down to the Hydro Museum in Kent. Pat takes us on a little tour now.
The slow motions, the boats that started it all. This one restored right down to the very last bolt by Seattle benefactor Bruce McCaw. The slow-mo, the boat that did a complete 360 while approaching the floating bridge in 1955. And here it is, the boat that won race after race, nearly every race it entered, here at the Hydroplane Raceboat Museum. And we'd like to introduce the man who, with a labor of love, has with his volunteers created this great restorative place for rooster tail reflections, Mr. David Williams. David, wonderful to be here.
Thank you, Pat. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, we're delighted. We're looking at the slow-mo now. There was a grandfather or a child before this particular boat, sort of the experimental hydroplane.
Absolutely. We've got the Slow-Mo 3, which was sort of the test bed of the concept. It's a 225, which is a limited hydroplane. It was built in 1948, and believe it or not, it never ever raced. When Ted Jones met Stan Sayers and they talked about the concept of a prop riding unlimited, Sayers was sort of a smart guy, and he said, well, before you go with a full-scale boat, let's see a proof of concept. So Ted designed and started to build this boat, the Slow-Mo 3. When they launched it, it was so much faster than anything else, they didn't need to race it. They went right to the full-size boat.
And here we are in a 1968 model unlimited hydroplane. As recently as '68, this is how they were built. This is how they looked. This is a boat, by the way, that if you bring your family out here to the Hydroplane Raceboat Museum, you can actually climb on this boat, sit down and feel the steering wheel. But you'll also notice there's no safety belt for the driver, no canopy to cover the driver's head in the event of an accident. But even more important, the bow of this boat is rounded. Now the problem with that was that if the boat got in rough water or pitched into the water, then it would tend to submarine and the boat would disintegrate in milliseconds, doing great harm to the driver and destroying the boat. Thus, a great innovation was the pickle fork bow, thus eliminating that inclination to, again, dive for the deep on the part of these unlimited racing hydroplanes.
Pat, you talked about pickle fork hydroplanes, and we are so grateful to have famous boats like this 1982 Atlas Van Lines here. This is the first boat that Chip Hanauer won a Gold Cup in.
And the innovation of the pickle fork, coupled with honeycombed aluminum construction, allowed the boats to ride lighter, it seems. So you had big open areas here that they didn't need for airlift.
That's right.
You have a lot of hydroplanes here. How many do you have?
Well, we have 17 in the collection altogether, but we can't display them at the same time. And any given day, you're going to see 9 or 10 boats down here, but it's never going to be the same 9 or 10. We try and change them out frequently.
It isn't just hydroplanes, is it?
Oh, absolutely. We've got motors, we have uniforms, we have trophies, we have buttons, we have models, we have toys, we have films, we have books. You name it, we've got it.
What do you want people to take away when they bring their family and come and visit your museum?
I want people to realize that this sport had a huge impact on this region. It was more than just one weekend every year. It's something that really shaped the childhood of thousands and thousands of kids growing up in this state.
And what a wonderful year to come and visit and find out how these elements in this magnificent museum are in fact the foundation of Seafair, now in its 60th year. Now, I want to tell you how to go get to that museum. There's an exit right after South Center. You take it and you take a left if you're coming from Seattle. Look for Orwilla Drive and then take that left turn and go down through Kent. You can't miss it. The highway goes right past. You'll see the boats outside the museum. And do take your family and do see it. They need you to come and support them, and your family will love the experience. Thank you.
Now, Pat, you know I don't know a pickle fork from a salad fork, but one thing I do know, and I have been to that museum, I know that you and one Mr. Chip Hanauer were honored in the Hall of Champions, the first two inductees into the Hall of Champions at the Raceboat Museum. That's quite something. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Steve.
I thought you might like to say something about it. We actually have pictures. There's Chip's picture. There's a part of the evening, and there's Chip as a 12-year-old.
This is a 75-year-old guy. You can see what boat racing does to you.
Yes,
it just destroys you. That was a wonderful honor for me. Bill Muncie was inducted along with myself, and it was just a wonderful night. My family was there, and I'm so glad that my father was there to see it. And there you see Bill Muncie and myself, and it's just one of the greatest honors I've ever had.
And then our great Pat O'Day also there, and everybody gets a standing ovation, and it was a lovely evening had by all. Congratulations, you two. We very much appreciate you being a part of our program here, just as we're glad to see all these folks who are standing by waiting for the next race. We head down to the pits and find out what Gard Swanson is doing as boats, drivers, and teams are preparing to hit the water. Gard.
Well, the Miss Airbag got into the water yesterday, and then disaster happened. Check a look at this stuff in my hand right here. These are teeth from the gearbox, and they came from right over here. And nobody knows that better than the driver, Mike Webster. And Mike, what a bummer of a weekend for your team.
Yeah, it's a shame for the Miss Airbag service. We were really hoping to put on a great show. Last week in Tri-Cities, we were able to make the final, and so now, we've had this little debacle. We're going to be ready for Evansville in a couple of weeks.
I hear it's called a stinger when you know something's going on in the gearbox. Did you hear that?
Yeah, we had heard a whine from the gearbox, so we knew something was up. And when we checked our filters, we knew something was going on. And so today we checked it out. Yeah, there's definitely some repairs needed.
And everything's going high tech this year. I mean, we're Twittering. We got everybody on our website. You're hoping to use some of your technology, like this video right here. You have a camera mounted to the back of your boat. And go ahead, Scott, our camera guy. Go ahead and get a shot of this. We're going to start the video for you. And tell me, what do you learn from this stuff?
Well, this is a great tool for us to use as far as seeing how the boat is handling, and also for things like timing marks. There's a lot that we can learn from this with different types of setups that we use, so it's a great tool, and it's really cool to see.
And when did you start using this?
Actually, just this weekend we put it on the boat, and we can mount it from any angle. We can put it anywhere that we want on the boat, so it's not limited to just that space.
All right, good luck in Evansville.
Thank you very much.
All right, and Doug Hansen, I know you have kind of a cool local story. He's a longtime sponsor. Scotty, come over here with that camera. This is Doug Hansen, and you're the big sponsor of the Miss Airbag. And tell me how you got involved as a sponsor and how quickly it took.
Well, we've been log boom people for 32 years and enjoying hydros and the Seafair forever. And then the opportunity came up. The Schumachers contacted us literally a week ago and said this team was coming to town. They're a young rookie team doing a great job, and they were looking for some help. And so we got involved and literally took this thing over on Monday. The whole airbag service team came and helped, and all my mechanics. And
what about your hats and your shirts and all that? How'd you get them made?
My wife, Tori, took everything and did a phenomenal job. I mean, we started Monday. We had shirts for the press conference on Tuesday. I mean, it was just incredible. What the amount of work she did, and the T-shirts, and all of it. It's just been a lot of fun. It's been a dream come true for us, and we appreciate the opportunity to help the Webster Racing team.
All right, good luck in a few weeks.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go back upstairs.
Gard, thanks very much. And we are talking about racing because the boats, including that one, will be in the water shortly. And if we can come out on camera, you can see our Chip Hanauer, our partner here, is already getting set to drive the Boeing 787. You've got your jumpsuit or your driving suit on.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to show past and present. The Boeing boat is actually run on sustainable biofuel, but I'm going to be running next to a boat that actually ran in the 1950s. It was a boat called the Wahoo. It was owned by the Boeing family. So it's going to be kind of a good shot for you shutterbugs of the past and the future with regards to Boeing and hydroplaning.
And we're going to talk about racing of the day, as a matter of fact, what we're calling our wild card heats. This is an opportunity, right, to get into the finals if you haven't run very well during the course of the day.
It is, but this first wild card heat is a strange one because the first and second place boat from the championship heat last year are now fighting just to get into the championship.
This is in the lights,
heat.
correct?
This is in the lights.
Yeah.
Now we've got Kaylee Perkins, and I believe we have Paul Becker. Paul won the race last year. Kaylee Perkins was second. Now they're fighting for survival just to get in. So amazing what a change a year makes.
Well, as a matter of fact, take a look. You brought it up. Here are the boats involved in the Unlimited Lights. This is the wild card run. There's the Critical Logic. There's Vitamin Water. That's Kaylee. Super Travel Zone. 3 boats will advance to the final. That is the Unlimited Lights. What about the Unlimited wild card? As we'll take a look at those boats here in just a second. But as you look down at the list, who here can make this final, do you think, Chip?
Well, J. Michael Kelly, I think, is probably the odds-on favorite. He's got probably the best piece of equipment out there. But remember, J. Michael was about 60 feet up in the air last week in the Tri-Cities. I've been around J. Michael this week, and he seems somewhat affected.
So here are the boats. The Albert Lee with Brian Perkins, Graham Trucking. There's J. Michael Kelly. David Williams in the Jones Racing boat, the Mirage boat with Greg Hobb, and the Buffalo Federal Savings, more of a test run than anything for Ken Muscatel, but he wants to get that boat out on the water and get it churning, get a little seat time, if he can, inside that cockpit. So those are the wild card races that are coming up when we come back. The Blue Angels have finished, the boats have been released, and they are heading now for the show place of the Pacific Northwest. The Stan Sayers pits and the course here at Lake Washington. More boat racing from Seafair when we come back. Are you ready for some more? Are you ready for some more racing? It is time to go racing with the Lights. Their wild card race, and here we go. Here are the boats with 3 going to the final. It's the Miss Critical Logic, the Power Punch Roxy 94.5, the Foster Care Vitamin Water, and the SuperTravelZone.com. Those are the boats in the Lights Heat wild card.
The Unlimited Lights Wildcard Heat is presented by Seafair for Graham Trucking, the intermodal container solution.
And if you remember the Oklahoma Land Rush with the Conestoga wagons, as Pat remembers them actually, no, I'm only kidding. Here come boats under the bridge. And
He called that race.
I won that race.
And heading over. So that is the scene with 2.5 minutes to go. The boats are revving up. You can hear them just behind us here in the pits. Those that make the noise, the lights. So taking a look at the course, most of the boats are out there now. And here we go. Here's Paul Becker. Chip, he did not finish in that Heat 2B.
Paul Becker probably drove the best raceboat race I've ever seen in my life. Last year at Seafair. This year for the Chevrolet Cup, he's finding himself trying to get to the final through the provisional. He's going to have Kaylee Perkins working against him.
Rob Bork is in the Power Punch boat. He's in that UL11 team, and he's looking to get into this final, Mike.
Yeah, he's had a tough time being competitive with the frontliners, however, but 3 of these 4 boats are going to go to the final, so some of them may take it easy to try to cruise into that. He may not have to do that.
The Foster Care Vitamin Water team. Could Kaylee Perkins, who was leading everything when she came in here, figure she'd have to be in the wild card to make the final?
She has not lost a race this year. Nothing would mean more to Kaylee Perkins and the Perkins family than a win here in Seattle.
And finally, the UL3 team, the SuperTravelZone.com, and Chris Grant. And he's had a 4th and it did not finish, and he's going to have to really push it to the metal here, Michael.
Yeah, there's been a disappointment for Chris because this boat is running number 3 now in the national point standings, and he needs to creep up if he can. He is in a battle for national points with a few races left to play, so he needs to get some points. Of course, getting into the final would certainly help.
So we believe we have all the boats out on the course now. We're probably down to just about 2 minutes. And as a matter of fact, inside of a minute now, 50 seconds. Here is your Comcast course conditions. Look at that temperature. Just keeps going up to 89 degrees. Little chop out on the water. But there's a little more breeze blowing, at least where we are, here at the south end of the course and up here on our tower, Chip.
Thank God, because I've been up and down the pits and up here. The difference between where we are up here in the tower and down there is about 15 degrees.
It is warm. Here's the man with the call of the race, Mike Fitzsimmons.
All right, they're up in the upper corner now, and they've chosen their lanes kind of interesting. Kaylee is lagging back a little bit. It looks like the power punch with Rod Bork is going to have lane number 1. And as they come down to make their start here, and they're coming from the unlimited turn 1, they'll have a long charge, almost a mile down into the first corner. A Critical Logic, and that is Mr. Becker in lane number 2. Kaylee Perkins in lane number 3, lagging back. It's Chris Grant in the travel zone. They're across the line now, heading down into the first corner. Clean start, looks like, from our vantage point. Watch Paul Becker now. He's got to hold off the red boat to his outside, which is Kaylee Perkins. But a nice turn going into the corner for the power punch with Rod Work, showing that he's got a few beans under the bonnet there, although he's just been overtaken.
They were really late at the start, and as an old race driver, I hate to see that. Maybe later on we go back and take a look, but I think 3 or 4 seconds passed before they actually went across the line. You can't do that in the final and expect to win here.
But now this could be a pretty good head-to-head battle, because Kaylee Perkins and Paul Becker are both naturally aspirated race boats, pretty evenly matched race boats, and they are right neck and neck right now. And Kaylee really has something to prove. She needs to get her confidence back as she moves toward the final, but she has to also know that she's going to have to be very fast in the final, because she's going to meet some boats that have more horsepower than she does. Cross the line first. Kaylee Perkins by a nose now in the Foster Care Vitamin Water down into that lower corner, though Paul Becker is not going to give any ground. He has the inside advantage in the shorter way around the race course, but Kaylee's starting to tighten down on him, Chip.
Yesterday, Kaylee Perkins broke a motor. She told me this morning that the motor they had in the truck that she's running right now is way better than the one she had yesterday.
She's getting a little flighty there. She comes up the back chute now, gets a lot of air under the race boat. Halfway up the back chute now, Kaylee Perkins has got the lead, but Paul Becker is staying right in her mirror, and they are virtually running practically the same speed, Pat.
Chip, please tell us that Kaylee is ready to get into an unlimited.
Pat, you're the 30th person to ask me that question since lunch. Everyone asked me, do I think Kaylee Perkins ready for an unlimited? What I'd like to see her do is start getting some laps immediately. Not necessarily jump in a race, but at least start getting some laps.
Coming across the line now at the end of lap number 2, Kaylee and Paul Becker are a lot tighter in this final lap as they come down into that lower corner for the last time. Paul Becker in the yellow and blue Miss Critical Logic, and Kaylee Perkins in the Foster Care Vitamin Water, and they are both having a dandy boat race out there. In fact, they're traveling a little harder, Chip, than I would have thought, since 3 boats will go into the final heat, and you race like this, you could jeopardize something.
Well, you know, if Kaylee were my driver, I'm afraid I'd have to have a sit-down with her. She was late at the start, and she ran way wide on that corner for no reason at all. So Kaylee's got to be tighter on the start, and she's got to, there it is here, she's cinching it up on him a little bit, and look at the difference.
And she's using the traffic there, too, because that's Chris Grant, who has kind of gotten away just a little bit, although he's inside of all of them. All right, Kaylee, real hard off the corner is going to come down to the start-finish line. It's going to be a drag race for the checkered flag. It looks like Kaylee's got just a little more to offer there as she comes across and gets the checkered flag. Paul Becker right in behind her.
Wow, she turned the last lap at 107 miles an hour.
Start quick on a 1 3/4 mile race course, Mr. O'Day. That's
flying.
plenty fast.
You know, I think what we saw here is what we're going to have to see, or what we're going to see in the unlimited heat. You got to find good water. You got to keep the propeller hooked up. Think of tires, you know, losing traction. All of a sudden the car slows down. You got to keep that propeller with traction, just like you have to keep tires with traction. I think Kaylee was searching for a lane that had some smooth water in it.
And she found it, but she also was searching for some confidence. When things start going wrong, you get a little bit rattled. I think she's pretty happy, Pat, that the boat ran really strong for her, and she needs to know that she can depend on that for the final heat.
And as we look toward the final, listen to these speeds. The first lap with a slow start at 105, but then she turned the next 2 laps at 108.518 and then at 107.250. Watch out in the final of the day, because Kaylee's got that boat flying.
Yeah, and she's going to need every bit of that when she gets up against Ryan Mallow in that Interstate Battery boat, and when she gets up against Greg Hopp in that Graham Trucking boat, because both of those guys got a lot of horsepower. They'll have to start outside of her, but she's going to need all the speed she can in the inside lanes.
And once again, let's explain the horsepower difference. Kaylee Kaylee is in a boat called a naturally aspirated boat. It gets as much air as it can suck in. But the supercharged boats that Mallow has, for example, and Hop has, they have a supercharger that rams that air into the engine, gives it a lot of power. So hence, they've got more power. They have to start outside. I don't know that these normally aspirated boats can run with them anymore.
Well, it's a good question. We'll find that answer to that question coming up in a very short while this afternoon when just exactly that kind of a contest unfolds here for the Unlimited Lights. A real disappointment for Chris Grant. This is a guy who's driven really well this year in the first 4 races on the Unlimited Lights circuit and has done very well as far as the points are concerned. He was in contention at least for second place. Kaylee Perkins way out front as far as the points are concerned. So the real battle is who's going to be the runner-up this year. But he has not had a good Seafair.
There's Kaylee right there, always with a smile on her face. Whether she wins, she loses. When she loses, she's the first one down there hugging the winner. When she wins, she's got $1 million smile. She's really great for boat racing, and she's one heck of a boat driver.
That's a superstar in the making, I'll tell you.
I agree. I think we got Guard Swanson down there with the lady we were just talking about. Guard, what's going on?
Kaylee, get that hat on. We got to see your sponsor, and just tell me a little bit about the race. I know the start wasn't what you wanted.
No, well, we're a little bit off because we have a different motor, and I kind of thought the timing marks would be a little bit different, so I wanted to play a little conservative. But my marks will be right on, so he should be there for the start and the final. So.
Talk a little bit about the final. Your boat have enough gas, enough power to get through it, win?
I think so. You know, nobody thought we would come out on top last weekend, and you know, we did. So, you know, I'm not as confident this weekend, but I'm certainly not giving up hope because my team didn't last night, so I'm not going to today.
There are a lot of people Twittering you right now. Do you know that?
No, I don't really know how to work Twitter, so I hope that's good.
We're kind of hoping you'll Twitter while you drive.
I don't think that's a good idea.
No, probably not.
No.
Let's go back upstairs.
I know a lot of people when I'm driving on the freeway are twittering why they drive, so I don't
Yes.
see why Kaylee should do it.
And they shouldn't be.
No, they should not be. And they shouldn't be on there. And as a race driver, I'm dead serious about that. You need to, when you're driving, take a break.
Right.
Drive.
Just focus on what you're doing. Let's go down to Jenny now. She's with Paul Becker.
Hey, thanks, Steve. And Paul, you were telling me you had a little surprise there in that race.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting Kaylee to come up, and all of a sudden, whoa, she's there. So we got moving, and the last lap, I had to go outside of both the lap, and we really weren't propped for lane about 4, and slowed me down a little bit. But hey, we're in the final. We're gonna have some fun, and that was great.
Well, good luck. And do you have any pull with your neighbors over there making so much noise?
You know, those are some of the guys that helped me get in this mess. So no, absolutely not.
Thanks. Back to you, Steve.
Jenny, thanks very much. Paul Becker, congratulations. We have the unofficial results. We'll have those for you in just a second while we're getting them ready. Mike, Chip, Pat, let's talk, if we can, just for a second about what it takes to put together one of these Unlimited Light teams. Obviously not as expensive maybe and not as big a show perhaps as the Unlimiteds, but still a lot of work goes into what these people do, Chip.
It's the same game, whether you're racing a 10-foot outboard hydroplane, an inboard hydroplane, an Unlimited Light, or an Unlimited. It's the same game. You have to have a great motor, you have to have a great propeller, you have to have a great hull, you have to have a great driver, and you got to have the people that can bring it all together.
Yeah, and that's the key right there, the people who can bring it all together. All the money in the world doesn't buy you a victory unless the guys know what to do with it. The men and women who work on these race boats have to understand how to make that whole ensemble work harmoniously. There have been racing teams that had all the money that they needed to be competitive and just couldn't seem to put things together. And in the Unlimited Lights, of course, it's just a matter of economy of scale. There are expensive parts to these boats. Engines aren't cheap, propellers aren't cheap, hulls themselves are not cheap. But innovation, of course, is the key, and that comes from the mind, that comes from the brain, the imagination, and that's what really makes the difference between a great race boat and an also-ran.
Well, they have some great teams here, and they are all performing for the fans here in Seattle. Here are the unofficial results of the wild cards for the Unlimited Lights, with the Foster Care Vitamin Water, Miss Critical Logic, Power Punch, and then Super Travel Zone. The top 3 to the finals. When we come back, more. How about an unlimited wild card race? How about Chip Hanauer back in a hydroplane? We'll have it all for you next.
Are you kidding?
No. All right, cinch those belts tight. It's time for the unlimited wild card. Here we go, more racing from Lake Washington. And it's really quite simple. There are going to be 5 boats battling in this race. They're all fighting for one single spot. And that winner will make the final. That's why they call it the wild card.
The Unlimited Wildcard Heat is brought to you by Comcast High-Speed Internet. Now with download speed options up to 50 megs. Call 1-800-COMCAST. And is presented by Seafair, celebrating 60 years.
So here is your lineup. The Miss Albert Lee Graham Trucking. We just got laid word that Dave Williams and the U9 team, Jones Racing, is out of the wild card. So that leaves 4 boats. There's Leland Unlimited with Greg Hopp, and then the Buffalo Federal Savings, Ken Muscatel, again trying to get some seat time in that boat. Taking a look out at the course with 3.5 minutes to go and 90 degrees. Thank you, Comcast, for warming it up. Wind speed says calm. Water light chop as it has been much of the day, but it'll get churned up out there as we get set here to take a look. And KJR joins us, KJR Radio, as well as KIROTV.com. So here we go, racing, and here are the men and the machines. In the Albert Lee boat, Brian Perkins is the pilot, Chip.
He is. He doesn't look like he can get his head on quite straight, but he can sure drive a race boat plenty straight. Right now they're building a team. They don't have any illusions of doing great with this boat they have, but you watch out next year with this Whirlpool Albert Lee team.
Like his sister, he's looking to make it to the finals of the big boys race here. The Graham Trucking team, J. Michael Kelly, and Michael, this young man is pretty stuck on 4th place finishes.
May still have a few cobwebs after that blowover in Tri-Cities, but this is probably the strongest of the fleet of the 4 boats in this one. And J. Michael certainly would love to get back on the horse, as it were, and make a final heat.
Guard, how about that? Climbing back in the saddle?
Yeah, and I just talked to a couple of guys down here, and this camp right now, Steve, is a little disappointed. They just said every heat that they've been in has felt like a final heat, and they just said their draws have just been kind of unlucky, and that's what they're feeling right now, but they're pretty confident going into this one.
Well, that is rebuilding a boat in about 36 hours. All right, thanks, Guard. How about David Williams? As we said, he won't be racing. He's pulled the boat out of the Unlimited Wild Card. So we'll move on to the Mirage boat, which is Greg Hopp, and he's looking to climb into the cockpit and race in the final race, Jim.
You never want to count Fred Leland and Greg Hopp out. Remember, Fred Leland was the team that flipped and won, so you just can't count them out.
And Jenny Hogan, you've been following this team for the last half hour or so.
Yeah, a little excitement when he left, guys. The motor just started smoking, and everyone burst off the edge of the water here. We all ran away because we thought there was a fire, but the crew told me, no, it's just a little oil leak. It's not great, but it's not bad either. So I'm a little smoked out here, but apparently it's not too bad.
Is there any such thing as a little oil leak?
Well,
I guess so.
There's no mosquitoes down there, right?
No mosquitoes, that's true. And finally, Ken Muscatel. And it would be fun to see Ken Muscatel in a final in his brand new boat, Mike.
Well, it is a brand new boat. He's working out the bugs, and you know he isn't going to jeopardize anything here. There's a lot of season left for him to race. I'm sure he'd like to head on over to Doha and participate in that. He worked so hard to get that race put together over there. So I think that Ken, if he feels like he can race it, he'll race it. If he doesn't, he'll score some points just because it feels good to score points at Seafair. But don't look for him to try to break anything here. He can't afford to do that.
Well, let's find out about the fastest boat out there. Patrick.
Jack in the Box congratulates a boat that was upside down last Sunday in Pasco, and today in this heat it's the fastest qualifier at 146.935. The Graham Trucking with J. Michael Kelly and Jack in the Box is the place where you can get anything on the menu any time of day.
And J. Michael is going to be in the 2 lane. It looks like the Whirlpool presents the Miss Albert Lee. With Brian Perkins, we'll have the inside lane. 2 lane is going to be Graham Trucking. He tightens down on that lane as well. Greg Hopp in lane number 3 on the outside coming down. Kenny Muscatel, here they come with just 6 seconds left on the clock. And they're coming a little early. Now, I still had digits this time, too, but I'm not saying anything. There goes Greg Hopp across the line and heads down into the first corner, and just inside of him is J. Michael.
It looked to me like J. Michael was kind of veering to the right. I drew on the telestrator there to show where he's moving out. It's called bearing out, trying to move your guy to the outside, but it didn't look like it worked.
We understand the start is under review, and probably it should be, but down the back chute, Greg Hobb doing it for Fred Leland. This one's for Fred, and he'd like to make the final heat. He, of course, has a final heat also in the Unlimited Lights coming up as well, so he is a busy man right now, and they're getting a real good boat race out there. Great corner by J. Michael Kelly here as he pulls alongside the 100 boat, and here they come down to the start-finish line for the end of lap number 1, and it's a real strong finish it is with both of the boats virtually side by side.
140 for the U100 and 138 for J. Michael Kelly.
And again, remember the officials are reviewing things into the corner. He's leaving him just enough lane. Well, now looks like Hop goes a little wider than perhaps he should have there.
Well, he's trying to avoid those parallel rollers we've been talking about all day. But let's also state that they're fighting to be the provisional. That means that if they make the final, they have to start 5 seconds back. And we also have just found out that Greg Hopp in the Raceboat U100 did indeed jump the gun.
Well, that moves Brian Perkins then legally into second place. Physically is running third off the corner now. And we should see a white flag up for the Graham Trucking now as he comes down to the start-finish line. He'll have one more to go. There's the white showing. And, of course, Greg Hopp is going to keep the pressure on simply because he knows this is an opportunity to race his boat and air it out a little bit, knowing full well, of course, that he can't win this because he's virtually a lap down, although he's side by side with the physical leader. Again, through the corner this time, Pat, it looks as though Mr. Hopp is still racing.
Yeah, he's putting on a show, but you know, J. Michael turned that second lap at 143. He's moving very well out there.
Well, he's going to need all of that when he comes to the starting line if he wins this heat in the final heat to be able to catch the other guys because they have been running a bit faster. Well, Mr. Hopp is still working him side by side, but unfortunately for that maroon and dark boat, she's not going to have a chance to do anything as far as winning is concerned. It's the red and white from Miss Budweiser Hall now. That Graham Trucking with J. Michael Kelly, one of the best drivers we've seen coming up the ranks. He gets the checkered flag. Hopp has to go one more, but it doesn't really matter because that doesn't place him in the final in any event. J. Michael Kelly not making it easy. He had to really race for it. And of course, when that kind of thing happens, Chip, of course, your radio guys tell you, well, the other guy has had an infraction, and yet he keeps hanging around you. You wonder, well, what's going on here? Is that right or not right? You can't afford to err on the side of, yeah, he must have had an infraction and back off.
Absolutely. That's kind of exciting for J. Michael Kelly, you know, because he was, as I mentioned, he was upside down at Pasco, had his heart broken that day because so many fans there to see him run. And today, he does get that wild card dealt to him, and he says, yeah, this is a winner. He'll have to be the trailer boat in the final, but he's in the final, and that's great for him, great for his team.
And Mike, let me pass on that Chip had to don his racing gear and head down because he's in this demonstration ride in just a couple of moments in that fabulous Boeing boat, and we'll be taking you to the waters there in just a moment. But again, still life breathing for J. Michael Kelly, and he gets to drive again against the big boys in the final coming up as he wins, but he has a place as a trailer. And remind everybody what that means, Michael.
Well, that means he has to start rooster tail back from the front line, if you will. Only one time in the history of unlimited hydroplane racing has anybody managed to win from that position. That would be Michael Hansen driving the Frosted Flakes 1993 down in San Diego on Mission Bay when he was the trailer boat. Everybody in front of him either ran afoul with the rules or had some kind of mechanical problem on that hot afternoon, and somehow or other Michael Hansen weaved his way through the carnage and the accused and found himself at the front line to take the checkered flag for the Madison, Indiana team.
Mike, is it too I don't know, crazy a thing to say, but with the limited resources and all that a lot of these teams have, to do what the Graham Trucking team did, to put this boat back together after that blowover in the Tri-Cities and get it to run pretty well today and now making the final, that's quite a job by those guys.
They're winners no matter what. They're winners. I mean, they came and they had, you know, the all-nighters, and as you heard Rob Graham talking about having to run in shifts to get the thing ready to go. Got it into the pits late Friday afternoon, didn't get it qualified till Saturday, worked their tails off to make the boat competitive and respectable, and I think it's rather incredible, and they know that whether or not they win the final, which is an unlikely probability, their weekend was a good one.
You know, Mike, I saw when they pulled it out of the water in Pasco, I was standing next to it. That whole front elevator thing, those two wings, they were ripped off. The tail had been ripped off, but there were gaping holes on the inside edges of those front sponsons where it had been ripped off. They had so much work to do this week, and they got it done.
The worst part, though, was they broke the back of that boat. When they got it on the trailer, they realized they had serious structural damage on the hull.
So for that team, having worked so hard, at least winning the wild card, that's a little reward for them.
This is a moral victory for them. Absolutely. Psychologically, they're pretty high. They know that's this has been a big weekend for them because that's a comeback. That shows you what they're made of, and that's real important.
You know, Steve, on the Saturday night show last night on KIRO 7, I mentioned that it's amazing that Chip Hanauer came out here during the week and in that 787 boat, the Boeing Dreamliner boat, with biofuel, he just kind of fiddled around the course at 153 miles an hour. Now, Vilwalk, desperately wanting to be the top qualifier, could only get 154 out of his. So it's just a shame, and maybe next year we can talk Chip into coming back and driving Scott Carson's beautiful blue Dreamliner boat.
Pat's got the contracts all ready to go. It's just a matter of signature, no problem at all there.
Donna, I don't think would. I think she'd have something to say about, hey, we want to head down to guard now. Who is with J. Michael Kelly after that nice win in the wild card?
What a testament for your team. I mean, this thing blew over a week ago today, and you're in the water, and you're in the final. The tough way, but you're in the final.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I got to thank Rob Graham, Ted Porter, and Formula Boats. These guys worked their tails off to get us ready. A week ago, we were upside down. We had an awesome boat. This weekend, we got it ready. We're basically starting from scratch. This isn't the way we want to get in the final, but we're in the final.
600 man-hours to get this boat in the water. That says a lot about your team.
A lot of dedication. If it wasn't for them, it wouldn't have even been possible. This is what I love to do. This is what they love to do. We put a good show on in that provisional, and we're looking forward to this final heat.
A little disappointed on just the draws you had this weekend?
Yeah, we had some pretty tough competition, especially when you're trying to figure a boat out. But our teammate Jeff, he made the front row, so we're gonna go out there and we're gonna drive for him too. And you never know what can happen. We might be the trailer boat, but we'll be in the mix also.
All right. Be safe in that final. All right.
I will, and I just want to say hello to my fiance Angela and my baby boy Carson. Miss you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right, guys.
And they are just a lovely family, as we had a chance to interview them on KIRO 7 Eyewitness News this week. Really lovely young couple, and we wish them all the best. And we wish J. Michael the best as well, as he now has made it into the final as the trailer, but at least he's there racing. Unofficial results, we'll get to those in just a second, but let's head down to Jenny.
Hey, Steve, this is what Greg did to me when he walked up.
Yeah, it was close. That start had to be really close. Of course, I didn't get to review it. I was sitting in the driver's seat, but it was 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh, either that was the start of my life, or we're over by a couple layers of paint. So I feel bad for the guys at Mirage Boats Company. We should have made that final. We had the boat to win it, and it was running good. It just hasn't been our weekend. Kind of been off a little bit all weekend.
But now you've got to switch gears back into unlimited light.
Yeah, then it's time to jump back into my light, the Graham Trucking Happy-Go-Lucky Pump Tech. And I got two of my buddies, unfortunately, this year passed away. Bill Niedermeyer from Festool was one of our longtime sponsors, and Terry Troxel, one of my best friends, Hydroplane Racer Forever. So I'm going to dedicate this unlimited light final to them.
Great thing to dedicate them to. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thanks.
Back to you, Steve.
The busiest man in the building today, Greg Hopp, climbing out of one, jump into another. Here are your unofficial results of the unlimited wild card. The Graham Trucking boat gets in. J. Michael Kelly at the controls, followed by Albert Lee, Buffalo Savings, and as we saw, just by that much, the Leland team. Jones, of course, did not start.
The Unlimited Wildcard Heat has been brought to you by Comcast High-Speed Internet. Now with download speed options up to 50 megs. Call 1-800-COMCAST.
Congratulations to J. Michael Kelly and the Graham Trucking boat. Congratulations to them. They're the winners and the Geico photo finish winner of heat, the provisional, or if you will, the wild card heat. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. You call Geico at 1-800-947-AUTO or visit us at geico.com. Well, there's somebody we know, Chip Hanauer, getting ready to go for a ride.
It's a view we have come to see over the years and appreciate. Chip Hanauer in the boat, and we will watch him drive the Boeing boat right after this. Richard Thompson from KIRO 7 Eyewitness News. Thanks. Enjoy the logboom. We'll get back to you. Meantime, one of the great demonstrations. This is the best idea. I don't know whose it was, but this is fabulous to have these two boats. Brand spanking new, state-of-the-art technology, and a replica of one of the great old-time boats, the Miss Wahoo. It was just christened not long ago, as a matter of fact. It is a distinct, absolute replica built from the ground up. Dave Williams and all the great people down at the Hydro Museum. Here we go. This was back on July 14th for the christening. Right down to the scroll lettering on the side, the Miss Wahoo. And it's just picture perfect. Looks like, as I've had it described to me before, and there goes the champagne. It looks like a piece of furniture, and that it is, the Miss Wahoo. And it is riding out there under the control of Dave Williams from the Hydroplane Museum, alongside the beautiful Boeing 787. Started up first time. They knew it would. There it goes. And back out to live pictures, continuing on around that north turn and coming down the main straightaway. And as they come down, we are going to introduce the president of the Commercial Airplane Division, Boeing Company, Scott Carson, who is as in love with hydroplanes, I think, as he is with airplanes, and maybe even more, Scott.
Well, it's a great event for Seattle, and these boats have been part of my life since as long as I can remember.
You really do span both these eras, don't you? The Wahoo, and then right up here to this state-of-the-art 787.
Now, the 787 is so neat because we're running out on biofuel, 100% biofuel today, but the Wahoo, I was a kid working on that boat back in 1956, and to be able to recreate it, be part of doing this with Bill Boeing and Bruce McCaw and Joe Clark, and have Mira here yesterday, I mean, that's about as good as it gets.
Now, it does have, we're talking about the 787 boat, it does have the Boeing name on the side, but so much of this is your own personal interest in these boats, right?
Well, it is, but this boat has been a real tool for us. We've been able to do things with it in biofuel that if you tried to do in an airplane, you could spend millions and millions of dollars doing. And really, for a very small investment, to be able to demonstrate the utility of the fuel and the difference it'll make in this industry is exciting for us.
Well, you've got this boat running on it. Is it the same fuel, and I believe I heard it was, that a 747 to Japan Airlines runs on?
Well, earlier this week we ran on that fuel. Today it is 100% biofuel, and that's the first time we've run anything on 100%. So this last run, we had 40 gallons of that fuel. I think Chip probably used it all.
Did it make you a little nervous, or were you actually thrilled when you heard at the beginning of the week, or actually the beginning of qualifying, that Chip Hanauer was the fastest qualifier the first day?
I was in Chicago, and our crew guys called me there and told me that we had just run 153. And then I saw Chip's article on the paper Saturday, and he said, you know, I was keeping him from going racing. So I told him yesterday, you want to race? Let's race. He said, you know, Donna wouldn't like that. So
I've tried to tell Pat that out at the start-finish line. Pat is trying to get him in the boat for good. There he is climbing out. Have you been able to sit down in that cockpit? Have you even taken it for a little spin?
I have not. I've been really fortunate to get my grandkids in the cockpit, and they're pretty thrilled. I think we've got new converts right there. So.
Well, I know, business as you have to deal with it at the Boeing Company, things sometimes go good, things sometimes not so good. With 787, the project is still kind of working its way to fruition. But you get to come out and watch this boat, one of your babies, out here travel around this water. Must be fun.
I'm really thrilled with this. And we have so many of our Boeing people that work on the boat. So they're all jazzed by it. I'm pretty jazzed. But more importantly, we're making a difference for the industry.
Is there a future, do you believe, in unlimited hydroplane racing? We just saw them sign the deal to go to Qatar later in the year.
Yes. I think there is an international future for the sport. I think it'll be very good for it. And its heart will be right here in Seattle.
And you'll be part of that, won't you?
I sure will.
I think the Miss Wahoo actually, if I'm not mistaken, did it go dead out there somewhere?
Yeah,
Well,
somewhere down in the south turn, it looked like to me they had some kind of problem. You know, we only have one engine, one gearbox, one prop, so we shut it down if there's any sign of problems.
Well, and there's, I think, is that Dave out there with it now?
Actually, Larry drove the boat this afternoon.
And yesterday we had, or the day before, maybe
Mira
it was
was in it yesterday.
Mira was in it. What a thrill that must have been.
He came back with the biggest grin you've ever seen. I mean, I was so thrilled for him, and he's been a real celebrity. He's probably signed 1,000 autographs down there by the boat, and he's been such a gentleman about it. It really brought back everything that we grew up with here in Seattle and made it special.
In fact, here's the picture yesterday with Dave at the controls and Mira right beside him.
Well, so the real truth is Dave had his foot on the throttle, but Mira was steering.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Now, we didn't think we could get Mira back in the boat and actually drive it like that, but congratulations to him. Nice. I guess once you do it, you really don't forget, do you?
I asked him yesterday morning, you want to go for a ride? And he said, yeah. And I watched the one turn down here, and he was right on the buoy line. I said, that has to be Mira.
So there is the Miss Wahoo. It's going to get a parade in.
Not the way we wanted.
No, but it will be towed at slow speeds for everybody to get a chance to see. And then will this boat also be displayed at the museum as well?
Yes, it will be. That's what we built it for, was to bring back that memory of that era here in Seattle. Little controversy, is it museum quality if it's a replica? But this thing is built exactly the way the original was, and it was really fun to watch it.
And it is a piece of furniture.
Oh, it is. It's marvelous.
Oh, man, you want to have dinner on the front of that boat. Well, Scott Carson, I really appreciate you stopping by.
Steve, thanks so much.
Great job on putting all this together, and especially getting that the 787 out there on the water and to convincing our friend to climb in the cockpit one more time.
You bet.
Scott, thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Scott Carson, president of the commercial airplane division at Boeing. There, the boat is being lifted out of the water, and it will be used now for demonstrations again, we assume. And as we watch that being lifted back onto the trailer, you just kind of think, what is the future of this sport? Is it going to be biofuels? Is it going to be some new technology to make the boats go faster? They're already about as safe as they can be, considering what happened years and years ago in this sport. But it really is tremendous, and to see a local company like Boeing.
You know, Steve, I wonder if the Alberto guys, if they could have, would have bought some of that biofuel on the second day of qualifying to get that extra a couple of miles an hour that Chip was able to get.
You saw what Steve David said after qualifying. We got beat by a plant. That's
right.
exactly what he said.
Got beat by a plant. But then again, I'll bet you they were secretly trying to get some of the plants.
Well, they might very well have been. Well, it was quite a show by both. Whether the Wahoo finishes or not is not the case. It doesn't matter. They had a great day on the water, and Chip will be rejoining us here in just a couple of minutes as we get set and count down to the Chevrolet Cup here at Seafair. That is still to come.
Coverage of the KeyBank Air Show at Seafair is presented by KeyBank, proud sponsor of the KeyBank Air Show.
The party continues as boats jockey for position out by the log boom, getting into place, getting set for the Chevy Cup, which is coming up in just a few moments. One of the men driving in the finals is Jeff Bernard in his Formula boats. Hasn't had the kind of weekend he would like, but it could all it could all just be great if he wins, Guard.
Steve, you're right. Unfortunately, your lane, you just found out you guys got lane 5, probably not where you wanted to be for the final.
No, not at all, but we had tough heat draws all weekend long. We had fastest boats in all of our heats. Formula guys gave me a great boat. Unfortunately, today we're going to have to hope for bad luck on the guys on the inside. We got Jimmy King right inside me in lane 4, and I think the 37 and 3, and the 1 and the 16 and 1 and 2, so it's going to be a tough final.
So you got lane 5, not the best. What's your strategy going in there? How do you win this thing?
Just do my job, make the best start I can possibly make on the outside, and after the start, we have to have 7 boat lengths on each boat on the inside before we can move over. So hopefully they all either make a bad start or they all jump the gun. So it's not fun for a driver to start these ways. If I could fight for lanes and fight for the inside, I probably got a boat that can win this heat, win the final heat. We had the same situation in Tri-Cities last weekend. One of the faster boats in the final, and was stuck on lane 3, got second. So we're going to go out and get the U5ForeignBoats.com in the best position we can. We've finished top 3 the last 3 races, and it's our goal to do it again here.
And you haven't won in Seattle yet. It'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it, today?
It'd be awesome to win in Seattle. Unfortunately, like I said, we had tough heats all day long, tough draws. That first heat this morning with 5th place is what really got us down in points. And yeah, we really wanted to win this weekend. We went from Madison finishing 4th and Detroit 3rd and 2nd last weekend. So we only had one more to go, and unfortunately it's going to be tough to do from lane 5, but we don't give up, and we're going to do the best we can.
And real quick, I know you're a laid-back guy. You were sleeping in the truck. You missed the Blue Angels. You missed all the festivities and the activities.
Yeah, it's a long week at Seafair. We go out and do events every night for the Seafair race, and when you drive all the way back to Maple Valley, you get home at 10, 11 o'clock at night, get back up at 4:30 in the morning. You don't get a lot of sleep, so we got a nice air-conditioned truck up there thanks to Bernie Little, and one of the nicer trucks in the pit area, so it's good to go up there and relax. I was just actually sitting in there in the air conditioning waiting for the final right now.
Maybe grab that cat nap, and congratulations, you made it to the final, and good luck.
Yeah, you make the front line in Seattle. That's an important thing. So we're happy to just be here and be in the final, and we're going to do the best we can for FormulaBoats.com and Graham Trucking.
Great. Steve?
All right, Guard. He mentioned, did Jeff Bernard, thanks to Bernie Little, well, the Formula Boats. There are two of them, the team. You see them there side by side. They're old Budweiser boats, owned and operated by Bernie Little, probably the winningest owner in the history of hydroplane racing, along with the trucks that the crews and the drivers spend a little bit of time in on a hot day like this. Speaking of Bernie Little, we're going to get to that in just a couple of seconds. Pat has a little bit of an interesting story for us, but right now we want to get back down to the pits. The Unlimited Lights Wild Card Awards. Here's John Lynch.
In typical Unlimited Lights fashion, a very exciting B main. And Kaylee Perkins, the winner, here to make the presentation from Graham Trucking, Rob Graham.
Thanks, John. On behalf of Graham Trucking, I'd like to congratulate Kaylee Perkins. Not sure what she was doing in the provisional. I guess they took out a motor yesterday, but she's one hell of a driver, one hell of a boat. Good job, Kaylee.
Thank you very much, Rob Graham, for sponsoring us. And without him, we wouldn't be able to be here. So big thanks to Graham Trucking.
That's right, Graham Trucking, one of the big sponsors for especially the Unlimited Lights. And of course, we know Rob has a boat in the big race coming up here shortly. Speaking of which, the Unlimited Lights, that was the wild card. How about the Unlimited Wild Card Awards? Back down to the presentation stage and Jeff Randall.
Here we are at the Chevrolet Cup award stage, and it's a very important one because this is for the Unlimited Provisional Heat presented by Jack Daniels. Our winner is J. Michael Kelly in the Graham Trucking truck. And to make the presentation from Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, I'm proud to introduce Mr. John Stave. John?
Hi, I'm John Stave. On behalf of Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, I'd like to congratulate J. Michael Kelly and the Graham Trucking team for winning the Provisional Heat. Congratulations. Yeah.
First off, just like to thank Graham Trucking, FormulaBoats.com, Jack Daniels. This isn't the way we wanted to get in, but we're in the show. If it wasn't for my guys on the team, we wouldn't be here anyway. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to the finals.
John, thank you, J. Michael. Like you said, you're in the show. The final field is set for Seafair 2009.
Thanks, Jeff. Probably a lot of people thanking Jack Daniels over the years is my guess, but that's a nice thing to do.
I think we should also thank Chevrolet. I mean, my gosh, Chevrolet has not had the best year in their history. And I think a lot of us thought, well, that's it. We won't see Chevrolet at Seafair. But here, Chevrolet again. And I think from the fans to the boat racers to us here at KIRO, we're glad you're here again.
Again, it doesn't happen. This entire sport does not happen without the sponsorship of the Chevrolet Cup. And all those sponsors, when you hear their names and those boats sound like company names, well, they are. And there's a reason for that. They pay to have those names on those sponsors.
They pay a lot, and they put a lot of energy into it. It's not just money. They do a lot of promotion. Seafair's had cars out there all week. Those cars are going to be in the dealerships. You get a good deal on the car that they used in the parade. If you need that Corvette, this is a good week to buy it.
Oh, spoken like a true car.
You do need a Corvette.
Actually, I do. I think Sharon would go crazy about a Corvette, actually. Let's head back up to the start-finish line now. Pat O'Day is everything. He's been a boat owner, certainly. He's been the rock guru in the Pacific Northwest since the 50s and 60s. Did you know he was also a botanist? And that's because he knows about a very specific tree that is the most famous tree in the Northwest. Pat.
Well, on the Columbia River in Tri-Cities in late July, the sun bears down unmercifully on that race course for the annual Columbia Cup. But in the pits, there is one truly remarkable feature, a giant spreading maple tree. It's at the east end of the pits. And it was the late It was the late Bernie Little that talked Budweiser into sponsorship of that race, and in the process, he assumed the enviable position in the shade underneath that wonderful tree for his race boats and crew and his big bus. Well, then a few years later, it was noted that this aged but gorgeous giant maple had developed what was thought to be a fatal disease as it began losing its leaves in the spring. Well, local experts opined that death was at hand for that mighty tree, and plans were made for its removal. But then Bernie heard the news, and Bernie shouted, "Don't touch that tree!" He immediately hired and sent the nation's top arboreal physicians to see if it could be saved. Now, in short, they injected it, or whatever tree doctors do to sick trees. Anyway, they defeated the disease, and here it is as you see it in pictures I took over there just last weekend in perfect, splendid health. Now, following Bernie's death, that oh-so-cherished spot in the pits was up for grabs. The Tri-City Race Committee determined that the winning team each year would earn the right the following year for that enviable, superior shaded spot in their pits. Now, last year, the Elstroms, Dave Vilwalk, and the Elam team had their beautiful orange equipment under that tree. But last year, shade and all, Elam was defeated by Steve, David, and the Oberto. So last week, and again this year, the old boy Oberto, who won last Sunday, and again next year, will enjoy that choice spot. Now, friends, if you knew the great Bernie Little, you know that he looks down from heaven and says, "Yeah, it's true, only God can make a tree, but it took me, Bernie Little, to fix it." And that's why in Tri-Cities it is and will always be called the Bernie tree.
Pat O'Day, another bit of hydro history. And
Did we love Bernie or what?
Well, here's a gentleman who spent some time with Bernie. Did you spend some time under his tree as well,
I spent a lot of time under his tree, and I think Bernie gets a bum rap. I think when people saw Bernie as a competitor, they saw a pretty rough and ready guy, but Bernie was actually really a sweetheart, and I think Bernie was at his best when we were at our worst. When we won, he was a little overbearing. When we lost, he was the first guy to get everybody in the truck say, "Forget it, it's over, I believe in you guys, let's get down the road and we'll do it again."
You know, there were a lot of people, Chip and Mike and Pat, who said that the sport might not survive without Bernie Little and the kind of support that he garnered for hydroplane racing. And here we are several years after he and the Budweiser team have gone and just moving right along.
And also Budweiser is back with us again too. You know, Budweiser hasn't been part of Seafair for some time, but Budweiser is back with us this year, and who knows, someday there might be another big red boat with Bud on the side.
Mike, you've got lots of stories about Bernie Little as well, don't you?
We knocked heads a little bit along the way, yeah, and but I always respected him. I always thought that he was, in the 1960s when we were down and almost out with the fatalities that we had and everything, if it hadn't been for Bernie Little, I don't think the sport would have had a life. And so you have to credit him for that. And even though he fought turbines and he fought enclosed cockpits, when he finally gave in, he went at it with 100% and made sure that everybody had the very best equipment for the safety of the sport. He was a very, very interesting fellow. And I think Pat O'Day does a great Bernie Little impression. Do that again. I like that.
My name's Bernie Little.
I think I can do better. Can I take a shot, Steve?
Yeah, take a shot.
Chip, you got to get the inside. I'm telling you, if we don't get the inside, it's over for us. All right? You can do it, all right?
This is too much.
Get off my bus.
Oh, my. Chip Hanauer does his best Rich Little of Bernie Little, for heaven's sakes. All right. We're going to go racing here in just a second. Bernie Little meant a lot to this sport, but right now there are a lot of boat drivers and boat teams down there that want to take home the trophy that Bernie did for so many years here at Seafair, and that is the Chevrolet Cup. And we'll be back with more from the shores of Lake Washington after this. If you have a boat in the Northwest and you're not out here for Seafair, you're missing something. And you might be the only one in the entire Pacific Northwest that's not here, because everybody else is on this scorching summer day. What a great day to be on the water. Air show continues, KeyBank Air Show overhead. Meantime, down in the hydro pits, it's the calm before the storm as we await the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair. Our Jenny Hogan has been following a number of the teams down there. She has convinced the U37 team, that's the Haas Mortgage team, maybe one of the ones that can slide in here and have a little bit of upset action today. They've got some top secret changes they've made, and they're willing to actually tell Jenny about it. Jenny.
So willing to tell me on one condition: if any of the other crews are watching, block your ears right now. This is for viewers only. Isn't that right, Scott? Your secret bag of tricks.
Absolutely, but I can tell you probably most of the teams are doing the same type of thing. We save our best engine for the final heat. We save our best gear ratio for the final heat, our best propeller for the final heat. We don't want to go out and have a chance of ruining that during the day. So I'm pretty sure most of the other teams are doing the same thing.
Now the viewers are home in their air-conditioned living rooms. They're not getting to see the boats. You were just going to do a quick show and tell for them.
Yeah, we brought out a propeller we ran all day here. It's sitting on the dock, and while it's a good propeller, it's definitely not the best one in our inventory. And so, like I say, we got a brand new, real special propeller that's on the boat, and we put our good engine in, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to give it our hardest try.
Well, let me go and talk over to the guy that you're doing all of this for. This is JW. Are you pretty impressed with your crew here?
Oh, these guys are the best. I've raced with them in the past. They're the greatest guys. You know, John would back me up on that statement as well. But these guys prepared an unbelievable race boat, and for the final, we're going to let them show everybody what we got.
And when you delve into your bag of tricks to bring something out, is there something special you're going to do in this final?
I got a game plan.
Okay, we're going to keep that one secret. We gave you a little bit there, Steve.
All right, Jenny, thanks very much, and thanks to the U37 team. And it really is, Chip, I mean, that happens, right? Up and down the pits is teams change out props, change out gearboxes, do whatever they think they need to do to get their boat race ready for the final.
Unless it's desperation. If there's a heat that you have to win, you got a rough heat, you got to win it to get in the final, you'll put the good stuff in for that, because if you don't make the final. There's nothing to save it for anyway.
I think a lot of people really are surprised how quickly crews can do what they have to do to take an entire turbine engine out of a plane, out of a hydroplane, and put a new one back in.
I was in the water with the old Rolls-Royce Merlin one time. The boat was in the water before the 5-minute gun. They saw a problem. They took the engine out of the boat while it was in the water, put another one in, and I made the heat and won. So these guys are magicians. They really are.
Good gravy.
I can't clean my windshield that fast on my car.
I've been in your car before, you're right.
Yeah, right. Well, I haven't cleaned anything in the car.
It's a terrible windshield. Well, Chip Hanauer, Steve Rabel, Mike Fitzsimmons, and Pat O'Day out at the start-finish line. Reporters down in the pits, as you have met as well. And up in the skies above us here along the shores of Lake Washington, the KeyBank Air Show continues. This is Bill Leff in his T6, I beg your pardon, Texan. That's what his plane is called. The most widely used advanced trainer in the world during World War II and the Korean conflict. So this is a trainer, and now he flies it in aerobatic shows all around the country, does Bill Leff. He also uses it, well, to raise money. He is quite a person. His mission, well, to be like the Wright brothers, become a pilot and aviation innovator, and that was when he was a young kid. And he is doing just that.
Yeah, it seems a lot of these pilots that we've met over the years we've done this, you don't see many really young guys. You notice that the stunt pilots are all really kind of wizened old pilots with a lot of experience.
Bill, for instance, has been doing this since 1976.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's a while. And it takes obviously a great deal of skill to make the plane do what you want it to do, but it also takes great stamina, great strength, great internal fortitude, because what they pull in these planes up and down and loops and barrel rolls and all the rest, it's tough.
It's tough on your body. That's if you don't throw up. I mean, just getting past that is hard. You know, the other thing I think, like these boats, people forget that these are very old airplanes, and they need a lot of maintenance. They've got to be absolutely perfect for these pilots to do what they do. So there's a ground crew that also has a lot of responsibility here.
If the name Bill Leff sounds familiar, then you might have been here last night, the Seafair Saturday night performance. He flies that Starfire Night Sky Show that has the sparklers on the ends of his wings. They look like fireworks. It is a magnificent show to see out here as the sun goes down. Meantime, his trainer is flying right toward us on our pit tower. It made me a little nervous there for just a second. Chip actually ducked.
You know, sometimes, I don't know if this guy just has a really bad engine that smokes a lot or that's intentional.
Well, I'm
hoping it's intentional.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's, as the Blue Angels say, smoke on, smoke off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. I'm a slow learner.
Well, no, but you do well. You've succeeded beyond your own expectations, actually. Well, Bill Leff will continue with his AT-6 Texan plane, continuing on the air show here as the boats again out on the log boom are all lined up waiting for a great show on the water. For a little more on the Alberto team as they get set for the Unlimited Championship for the Chevrolet Cup. Let's go down to guard.
Standing here with Rick Carilla of the Oh Boy Alberto team. A lot of top secret stuff in the other camps going into the final. What about you guys?
Well, we saved the best for last, obviously. We've got the 16, the Elam inside of us. We've got the 37, the Haas Racing on the outside of us. And we've put ourselves in a position to win. That's all you can ask. We've got the best motor, the best propeller, and the best driver, so we go from here.
So you're in lane 2. There's been a lot of talk. Maybe it doesn't really matter if you get 1 or 2. You're just looking for that smooth water.
Absolutely. This is a 5-lap race, so what we're looking for is who can turn the best, who can keep the boat going straight the best, and carry the momentum into the turns and keep the thing moving fast.
You guys got a little mojo. You won a heat a couple hours ago.
Won a heat, got some seconds, won last week. Everybody's doing well. We've competed well with these guys, so now we just got to go out and win one more heat.
It's kind of funny. I've been in your camp now for about 15 minutes. It's so calm. Everybody's calm, cool, and collected.
It's the beef jerky effect. Everybody eats a lot, so we're always kind of just, happy, fat and happy, so it works out good.
You got any jerky? I need some. I'm starving.
I'll find you some.
All right. I like the pastrami.
On its way.
All right, guys, back to you.
Coverage of the KeyBank Air Show at Seafair is presented by KeyBank, proud sponsor of the KeyBank Air Show.
Welcome back as we have reached the 4 o'clock hour, the witching hour for race fans of hydroplane racing, light and unlimited across the country. We have finals coming up in just a few minutes. All of us here along the shores of Lakeland, Washington, welcoming you to KIRO 7's live continuing coverage of Seafair 2009. Steve Rabel here, along with Chip Hanauer, Mike Fitzsimmons, and Pat O'Day, and a cast of thousands, including KIRO 7 Eyewitness News reporters who have been out and about bringing us the stories today of the heat, of the families, of the fun that is Seafair. Right now, we're going to take you where no one else can go, inside the race course during a race. Our Richard Thompson had that rare opportunity to see all the work that happens during a heat.
I've been covering Seafair for about 15 years now. This is the first time we have ever been allowed inside the race course during a race. And we wanted to give you a quick look at what else is going on inside here while the boats scream across the water. Dan Skilton has the honor of being inside the course, dropping the flag and setting the hydros loose. He always wants the same thing.
I just want to see all my buddies out there have a good, clean race.
Every time a boat leaves that pit, our gear's on, our fins are on, ready to go in.
Rescue boats with divers on board are also positioned inside the race course just in case things go bad.
20 feet from the boats going by us at 150 miles an hour, and we watch the course like a hawk, and when something goes upside down, we go.
And if a hydro flips or just loses power during a race, there is also a number of what's called course boats, who are responsible for towing broken hydros back to the pits to be repaired. But while they wait to work, their seats for the races can't be beat.
This is the best seat in the house. You can't get any closer, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing being inside the course.
Fortunately, during this heat, the judges' boats inside the course spot no infractions, nobody flips or breaks down, a clean race, and a checkered flag. There you go. That is what everybody who's working inside the racetrack wants to see. A checkered flag, a clean race, nobody hurt, everyone's safe. Everybody in here inside the racetrack works hard all day long to make sure that happens. And this time, they are thankful it did. Back to you.
All right, Richard Thompson. I've been up here on this tower for about as long as I can remember as well, doing these races every Seafair Sunday. And that may be what we saw from Richard Thompson, the best seat in the house from inside the course, watching these boats go around. And they will be here in just a few minutes. Again, jockeying for position, getting set to watch the Unlimited Lights Championship which will be racing along our way in just a few minutes. We head down to the pits right now, where our Jenny Hogan is standing by with the defending champ here at Seafair.
Yeah, we got the defending champ about to get in his boat, Paul Becker. So what is the race plan?
Well, a great race plan right now is get to the cooler, get a cold one, climb back in your lawn chair, and strap in tight. It's time for the final.
Oh, that thinks that's your race plan. So what's your race plan?
Go fast, turn left, win.
Okay, can I come with you? I'm pretty much halfway there.
Well, I sure hope so. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Back to you guys.
All right, Jenny. And Paul climbs aboard, and that really is pretty much what you do. Go fast, Chip, and turn left.
I find it upsetting. I think he's politicking for my job
Well,
here.
and he did a pretty good job.
I have to say, he did a pretty good job.
Tell us what goes on as these pilots, you know firsthand what happens as you're climbing aboard, getting ready, especially for a championship race.
Well, Paul is an enigma to me. I don't understand Paul at all because he's just the friendliest, nicest guy. He wants to chat. I mean, as you just saw just before, I was just a bundle of nerves. Nobody wanted to talk to me. I had a scowl on my face. But then he goes out and drives like a true champion. So Paul is like nobody I've ever seen.
Well, he's going to have quite the race on his hands against one young lady who was just the talk of this course a couple of seasons ago as a rookie, and she has done nothing to disappoint over the years. Guard Swanson's with Kaylee Perkins down in the pits.
Yeah, I'm laying on the boat here, and Kaylee just 2 minutes ago comes walking out on the dock with this purse right here, and I said, is it a Coach purse? No. Louis Vuitton? No. What kind of purse is this?
It's a Target purse.
Got it. So what do you carry in this thing?
Of course, you got to have the air mask, the radios, sunglasses. I don't have my umbrella in there, but yeah, all the essentials.
You got a little bit of good luck in this bag, I would imagine.
I sure hope so.
What do you think about the final right now?
Oh, I'm pumped. I mean, it's just another boat race. Just happy to be here and race for Graham Trucking and support foster care and be out here promoting such a good cause. So I couldn't be happier.
Well, good luck in this final. Go get a victory for everybody.
Thank you very much.
All right, Steve.
All right, Guard. She shows just uncanny, unusual for her age, composure getting ready to race for a championship.
Kaylee is something very, very special, and it's not because she's a woman. It's her attitude, it's her disposition, the sincerity. I've gone on speaking engagements with her, and she literally went into the room we were about to speak and introduced herself in person to every single person, and she loves to race. And when she loses, she's so gracious, and it's not a fake grace. She's truly happy, and I have to say she's a better person than I wasn't happy when I got beat, and I know she's not happy, but she sure is gracious.
Well, she's also not the first woman to climb in a hydroplane. Pat O'Day, you know a little bit of something about this story. You know how it started back there when you were a team owner, and as Kaylee Perkins has demonstrated, she has the talent to be where she is.
Did you know that Brenda Jones packed the shores in Detroit, packed the shores in San Diego? When she won a heat here at Seafair, I got to tell you, a whole new audience was on their feet screaming. So, Chip, you're a good friend with Scott Carson. Why don't you suggest that he take his 787 Dreamliner next year, that blue and white beauty that you were driving, and put Kaylee in the cockpit and hit a home run? Chip,
well,
tell Scott that.
Okay, I don't think the president of Boeing Commercial Aircraft cares anything about what I have to say. But hey, we got a big heat coming up here. Let's talk a little bit about winners and losers here.
We do indeed, and you know something else, guys. As I'm looking at my notes here, 1, 2, 3, 4. How many boats do we have in this heat here for the championship?
We have 8 of them.
That's a lot of race boats, even though they're not as big as the Unlimited. That's a lot of boats out on this course.
And Mike, I don't recall how many are all of those boats on the front line?
That's correct. Yes,
okay,
they're all.
so
there's no trailer.
Visually, this is going to be really neat because you're going to see 8 boats, and if they get their act together and they're all there at the start line at the same time, that's a lot of horsepower lined up coming down Lake Washington.
Of course, the rules still have the supercharged boats on the outside. That would be your interstate battery, and your Graham trucking boats have to be on the outside. They run the outside for one full lap, and then they can break closer to the buoy line. Kaylee is going to have to pick a very good lane to start in, and it may be the inside, it may be lane number 2, but she's going to have to be very, very quick, and she's going to have to get a great start if she's going to stay up with the likes of Ryan Mallow, who has just seems like he has power to burn in that Interstate Batteries UL-19 boat. And Kaylee's going to have to be very, very quick. And Paul Becker, if he's going to defend this championship, he is definitely going to have to drive the race of his life, because last year it kind of came to him. This year, on paper, it's not coming to him at all. So he's going to have a tremendous race, but he, of course, thinks he has the miracle crew, and maybe they do have a miracle or two left in that bag of tricks of theirs.
And you know, Mike, as we look at these piston-powered boats running around, it's interesting to note here on the 60th birthday of Seafair that these little guys, these unlimited lights, are running as fast as the big guys ran 58 years ago. It's amazing.
Of course, technology's come a long way. They run a 1 2/3 mile course, but that first charge to the starting line, 8 boats coming from the unlimited north turn, a 1 mile dash down into turn number 1, and all of them at an incredible speed, and the water conditions couldn't be better for it right now. We've got outstanding water
flat
conditions.
as a pancake.
Remind me, do they have assigned lanes? Are they?
No.
They're just
They have to
vying
fight
for
for it.
lines.
No, I want to clarify that a little bit. If you have these supercharged boats, and we've talked about all day the engines that get air rammed into them, they have to stay outside. If you have the normally aspirated boats like Kaylee has and Paul Becker have, they can be inside. I'm afraid the era of the naturally aspirated boats might be over. The supercharged boats are really doing well, but I think we're going to get an answer to that question right now.
But in any event, as they come down to about 1 minute and 30 seconds, their score-up buoy is the start-finish line, and they come past it. They cannot come past it again after 1 minute 30 seconds. They go all the way into the lower corner, and they go all the way up with their lanes already established, come around the arc of the north turn, turn 2, and then they make that starting line charge. This could be very picturesque. Get out your cameras.
Well, you've seen a number of the boats as the pilots are setting in there. They're trying to keep cool, the sun blazing down on them. The Interstate Battery. How about the Graham trucking boat? King and Bunny's, Warning Power, they're all out there and they're all set to vie for the Unlimited Lights Championship of Seafair. And when we come back, they're going to remove that pretty little umbrella. They're going to close the lid. And these men and women are going to go racing for you and for 250,000 people out here along the shores of Lake Washington. The Unlimited Lights Final coming up when we come back to Seafair. We've got 2 races left today, and this is one, the Unlimited Lights Championship. It's time to race for the trophy today, and here are your headlines. Ryan Mallow has the top team here today, but how about Greg Hopp? He's always one of the toughest to battle out on the water. And how about Kaylee? She didn't just luck her way into this. Does she have the boat speed to win it? It's the Unlimited Lights Championship at Seafair.
The Unlimited Lights Championship race is presented for Seafair by Graham Trucking, the intermodal container solution.
Here is your lineup of boats in the championship. Interstate Batteries, Graham Trucking, King and Bunny's, Warning Power, U.S. Army, Napa. Also Miss Critical Logic, the Vitamin Water, and Power Punch boats on the outside. Taking a look at the course, the temperatures have gone up all day long. Comcast course conditions, 90 degrees, 2:45 from race time. Water is calm, but not for long. KJR, welcome to all of you at KIROTV.com as well. Here are the drivers and their boats. Starting with Ryan Mallow in the Interstate Battery boat. Chip, you may be the one to beat today.
It's fast, it handles good. If you got some money to bet, it'd be a good place to put it.
Greg Hopp in the Graham Trucking boat is a battler. He drives the big ones. He drives the Unlimited Lights. Mike, how's he going to do here?
He first has to worry about Ryan Mallow. Once he has him handled, he's got to worry about Kaylee Perkins, and he has to also worry about Paul Becker. He's got a handful.
Kelly Stockland is driving the King and Bunny's boat, and he's just been sort of laying there in the weeds, getting a second and third.
Told me he doesn't like the way his boat's handling. I don't think he's going to be a factor.
How about the warningpower.com? One of the great names in racing. Will Muncie even looks like his dad. He's got a second and a fourth already, Mike.
Well, he's got the final heat, but he hasn't got the boat to win it here today, I'm afraid.
The U.S. Army boat, Joe Souza, as he continues to fight. Can he get better than a third here today, Chip?
I don't think so. It's great to have the Army here, but I don't think he's got the boat to get it done this week.
Paul Becker is the defending champion. He hasn't had all the greatest luck, but he's got a first and a second along with it did not finish, Michael.
He also knows how to win on Lake Washington, even against the kind of competition he's up against this afternoon, so don't count him out.
Kaylee Perkins, as talented as a driver there is, and she has got a first to her name in the, of course, the wild card.
She needs a great start, and she needs a great first corner. She hasn't had one yet today, so let's see.
And finally, the Power Punch boat, piloted by Rod Moore. Michael?
Figures into the start, probably not into the finish. Rod Bork, I think, is outclassed here.
And so there we are. The Unlimited Lights are set for a championship. And the man to make that call as the boats approach the north turn is the inimitable one, Mike Fitzsimmons.
Thank you very much, Steve. You seldom ever see this much traffic in a north turn on Lake Washington at Seafair time. Usually we run 6 front line boats in the Unlimiteds. We've got 8 of them going here. They're already in their lanes now, having established where they're going to be as they came around at the about a minute or so ago. And Kaylee has decided she wants that inside lane in the worst way, and so she's going to creep up to it and try to ratchet up the power that may or may not have been a good idea for her. And no one to strike that. That's Muncie. He's gone back into the inside of the course and taken himself out. King and Bunnies has also gone. Kaylee is going to be in the third lane right next to the supercharged boats. Lead him across the line is Joe Souza as they come to the line. And we've got our start. They're lowered down into that first corner. Joe Souza has the inside lane, but his boat has not shown the kind of horsepower it's going to take to overcome these faster boats. Boy, we got a lot of traffic down there, Chip, and they're closing it up.
Mike, you had a better angle at the start line. It looked to me like there might have been one boat that either had a perfect start or was over, and it was red. Was that Kaylee?
That would have been Kaylee if it was in fact the case, but actually Will Muncie turned into the course just before the start and has shut the boat off, so you might have seen him. Kaylee, on the other hand, is flying that race boat, trying to stay up with Ryan Mallow, interstate batteries. We have a fair start. We have no problems on the start, so we have one dandy battle. And forget the fact that the 3-lappers, what we've had in the past, these guys have got to go 5 times around, including Kaylee. What a great turn for Kaylee as she comes off that corner and gets some ground on Ryan Mallow, who has to stay outside until he crosses the start-finish line, has overlapped, and we can close in on her now. And third place overall, that would be the Graham Trucking as Greg Hopp tries to catch up, but he doesn't look like he's got what it's going to take to beat these other two. Kaylee's got a race on her hands through that lower corner, Chip.
Going into this heat, I said Kaylee had to do 2 things. She had to have a perfect start. She did that. She needed a perfect first corner. She did that. She's done all she can do now. It's all up to the horsepower behind her.
And she's stretching it out, Pat O'Day. She's definitely stretching it out. And it looks like Ryan Mallow is having a tough time catching it.
Unbelievable run for Kaylee. As Jim said, it has been perfection. It's been poetry. And she's at the floating bridge turn. That skid fin throws that water in the air. She's got Mallow on the outside, but she's got him by an entire rooster tail and more.
He starts hearing footsteps now, though. A 5-lapper means that engine's got to hold together. She lost one earlier. And to lap number 2, Kaylee leads by a rooster tail and a quarter down the front straightaway as she comes charging through. She's got a loose cowling there. You can see things rattling. That could blow off at any moment now.
Now, if that cowling comes off, that creates some problems because there's an air scoop you can see on top of that cowling right there. And that air scoop helps get air to that motor. If that cowling comes off, that's going to be a little bit of decrease of horsepower. And she's got a great big blown motor behind her. But I tell you what, she has driven a perfect race up to now. If she wins this, it's all driver.
So far, she's hanging together here. Out of the corner, the cowling's still staying on, but as you can see, it's trying to lift off on the back end. And Kaylee's getting the white flag as she comes down to the start-finish line, 3rd time around for Kaylee.
I'd have to say that that's one young lady that I'm really glad I never had to race.
They just gave her the checker, so evidently they're only running 3 in the final. That surprises me. But Kaylee is the winner if that's the case. She's backed off, so she thinks she is.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just saw the boat with the lesser of the horsepower beat the supercharged boat and beat it handily.
Not just beat it, wax it.
In the hands of Kaylee Perkins.
You know,
Wow.
A lot of people have been asking, as Pat brought up, is she ready for the Unlimiteds? And I wonder if that was a male driving that boat that's won, you know, so much over so many years, if we'd even ask that question, we'd say absolutely they're ready. So I'm going to say that now. I think Kaylee is absolutely ready to get into an Unlimited. Maybe not to win right off the bat, but she's ready. She's earned a chance to go out there and do some laps.
Well, this, of course, is a win in Seattle.
This is a big win for Kaylee.
And this is 5 in a row for Kaylee. Nobody's won any races but her this year.
You know, before they start the race, they make that long run around the Unlimited buoys. Last year, she made that mistake of going all the way around in the first lap, or she'd have won last year. But now her dream has come true. But listen, this is her 5th win in a row.
That's right.
And let's also remember that the Perkins family is a Seafair family if there ever was one. This family has been a volunteer at this event from the beginning. Kaylee used to come down here in a little stroller, and now she just won the Chevrolet Cup Lights event, and I think we're going to see one happy, emotional Doc here.
That speedboat is no stroller, and she wasn't strolling at all. Boy, did she have to go fast to beat Ryan Mallow. And Mallow's had a great weekend. Take nothing from him. Two wins and a second place in the final. That Interstate Battery boat has been absolutely wonderful this weekend. But he was outclassed, no question about it. Got a good start, had the horsepower, just didn't come together for him.
Seattle's got its own Danica Patrick. Oh,
look at that. You can see the smile from inside the waterlogged windshield, and she is one happy pilot of the championship of the Unlimited Lights here at Seafair. The thumbs up for her crew. She can't wait to get out of that helmet.
Yeah, it's just great to see her. And, you know, you mentioned Danica Patrick. I think there's a difference between Danica Patrick and her. You know, Danica Patrick hasn't won much. She's threatened to win, but she hasn't won much. And I don't think she's as good for her sport as Kaylee is for her. Kaylee's just got the right personality to really help this sport.
Well, that's well said, Chip. That's true.
I mean,
I think I see some tears of joy there as well.
Yeah, you know, last year she ran down, I predicted it, that she was going to run down and throw Becker in the water, which she did. Yeah. Now we have to ask ourselves, is Paul Decker going to make the run and throw her in the water? They're both such gracious racers, and I think we could all learn some lessons in whatever we do competitively from people like Kaylee. And you know, look at her; she's in disbelief, and she loves her guys so much, and they think the world of her. And that's what makes them winners. It's that relationship. Look at that. That's her brother. That's Brian Perkins, and you would think he'd be jealous. You know, he hasn't had as good equipment as Kaylee has. But there's no better supporter for Kaylee than her brother Brian.
Chip, we have just looked at the highlight of Seafair 2009.
And let's head right down to the pits and guard with the champion.
Kaylee, put it into words for me. What an emotional afternoon for you.
I can't believe I just won Seafair. I grew up watching this, watching people like Steve David, you know, running around the race course, and I'm here pitted next to him, and this has just been the best weekend of my life.
You won it in the first turn and on the start, didn't you?
I think so. I don't know. I was so worried about Ryan. He was right next to me, and they're such a good boat, and I was really worried about him, but my foster care boat, my vitamin water team really stepped up and put in the best stuff they could and gave me an opportunity of a lifetime.
Just winning here in Seattle is so big for you right now.
This is huge.
Talk about your cowling. That thing almost fell off during the race.
Didn't even notice it. Didn't look back. I want to thank Graham Trucking for giving us the opportunity to do this, because without this, I wouldn't be able to get to do what I love to do.
When did you think you knew you had the race won?
Not until I saw the checkered flag. You never look back and you never let off until you see the checkered, so.
So many tears for you.
I can't believe it.
Big win and a wonderful moment for you and your team.
I'm so proud of my team. They are so amazing, and because of them, I'm here, and I can't thank them enough.
And you are 5 for 5, my friend.
I cannot believe that. Oh my gosh.
What do you think your mom and dad are thinking right now?
Probably that they never thought I'd get here either, because I know I didn't.
All right, great job.
Thank you so much.
It's not a bad week when you win the race you wanted to win your whole life. You get engaged in the same week. So, Kaylee, enjoy this. You'll look back on it forever.
That was the ring she had on, right? The engagement.
That was the engagement ring that happened last week in the Tri-Cities. She comes here and realizes a childhood dream. You got to be moved.
Oh.
You just have to be moved.
Oh, it's terrific. It just is great for the sport. And another thing great for this sport is Paul Becker, who is as fine a driver and as nice a man as you could ever want to meet. And we have him as well with Janet.
I remember this now.
Are they down there? Are they set?
Yeah, we're here with Paul Becker and that game plan of getting a code one. I think you're about to go do it, right?
That sounds like a great plan. Actually, we thought we hit our timing marks pretty well. We wind up early to try and come down, and everybody was so doggone early, I couldn't believe it. And then I was left with really rough water coming down the straightaway there, and I just couldn't get it up to speed. And then my lane disappeared in lane 1. I don't know what happened. So that's boat racing. We'll be back.
Speaking of getting a code one, last year someone gave you a code one and pushed you in. Any plans of going over to visit Kaylee right now?
You know, I didn't know she won, but yeah, somebody should toss her in. Well, I don't know. Well, that was my first one, so someone's tossed her in already.
Well, how about that? Back to you guys.
Well, we had fun, and we'll be back again next year. And boy, what a great day, and what a fun time here in Seattle. And it's almost time for the Unlimited final.
Yeah, we're excited to watch that one. Any bets on who's going to win?
Well, actually, Billy Schumacher and I are pretty good friends, and so is Steve David. So, you know, what can I say? They're all great people. I wish them all the best.
Okay, thank you so much. Back to you guys.
As long as it's a good race, right? That's what everybody wants. They want to see a great race in the championship for the Unlimited.
And let's look back on this Chevrolet Cup. We have had good racing all day, yesterday and today, and that hasn't always been the case. And now, I'm not the biggest fan of this lane assignment, but in all honesty, I have to say it's provided really good racing here this weekend.
Well, you see the lights being pulled from the water now. You also see some of the big boys are in the water. There's the Alberto boat standing by. In fact, most of those that are going to run here in this championship final are being placed or are in the water now. And so we can start gearing up in a few minutes. There's the Elam boat with Dave Villock.
30 seconds.
Jimmy King's boat will be going into the water here momentarily. The piston-powered boat. There's the sausage boat. As Rick Corella said a few minutes ago, everybody's fat and happy on jerky down there in that pit, so they expect to run well.
This is going to be very interesting. As we said at the beginning of the day, I think it's a clash of philosophies. The Elstrom boat that you're looking at there with Dave Villock in it, they are tough boat racers that go to win and get the boat out in front. Alberto and Steve David in particular, I think, are more strategists. They get what they can and hope maybe there's some problems in front of them. So we're going to have to see which strategy works. I think the other thing that's going to be really important is who gets lucky and gets smooth water when they get to that first corner.
Before we go any further with the Unlimited Championship final that's coming up shortly, let's give you the unofficial results, at least the first 3 places. There were a lot of boats out there on the water for the Unlimited Lights, but there you go. The unofficial results. Kaylee Perkins in the Foster Care Vitamin Water Boat wins it. Interstate Batteries with Ryan Mallow in second, and the Graham Trucking Boat with Greg Hopp finishing third. Again, those unofficial results. We'll get the official for you, and we'll take you to the award ceremony as well, coming up just a bit later. And we've got a championship race coming up. The Unlimiteds at Seafair coming your way next.